Clicked go live, so we're there.
Hey, Modern Commerce, welcome back. We're at it again with another hot interview. John set up another one for us. You know this man cannot be stopped when it comes to the interview game. Best in the biz. I'm going to go ahead and bring him up here, and he's going to introduce who he's got for us today. John, go for it, bro.
Whoa.
I'm going to go ahead and bring him
What is going on with my audio? Do you guys hear that?
Sure do.
John, go for it, bro. Whoa. What is going on with my audio? Oh, it's because I have the YouTube live on. That's on me. Today we have Alexa. That was rough. That was rough, everybody. Good job.
Start.
Let's go. Okay.
Alexa, Kilroy. Yeah, Alexa, what's up? So Alexa Kilroy, head of brand at Triple Whale. Excited to have you today. Excited to have have some of the female presence from e-commerce. Just little if you know there.
Ladies, wrap it up. If you know, you know.
There we go. Hey, Chase Pencil.
Absolutely,
I'm guessing it's Chase. Could be someone else. It's his assistant. Sorry. I'm sure he has assistants for most of that stuff.
Yeah.
Pencil. Little preview might be our show sponsor. I don't know. Who knows? Alexa, Alexa's head of brand at Triple Whale, by the way, if you don't know. And tell us a little bit about yourself. Give us your background. You're a teacher.
Cracking?
You don't really know anything about e-commerce. You sing and you teach. That's pretty much it, right?
Yeah. And if you saw my birthday tweet for Mr. Nick Shackelford, you'll see that I'm also an expert artist. So be sure to check that out today.
Nice.
But yeah, what's up? I'm Alexa, head of brand at Triple Whale. Oh gosh, my face just got really big. Okay, here I am.
All right, we'll do that.
Well, we do that. But yeah, I started my career as a high school English teacher, and then I was like, maybe not. And ended up in ecom and spent the past few years in growth marketing, and then ended up here at Triple Whale in May of 2022 this year. Now I'm leading brand things.
Yes, let's do it. So we today are going to talk about, because Triple Whale, give us a little background on what Triple Whale is. And also I think you got some stuff coming up, right? Yeah. So tell us about Triple Whale. Tell us about the event that you're putting together coming up.
Cool. Yeah. So if you aren't familiar with Triple Whale, you probably haven't used the Twitter app in the past 6 months. Highly recommend you get on that. We'll be all up in your face. But Triple Whale is, we're in kind of like the MarTech and data space. So we link up with your Shopify, all of your various paid and digital marketing channels. We have a first party attribution solution so that you can help link those purchases back to where your customers came from. And we've got all kinds of cool features in there. A lot of stuff that most people used to crunch numbers and sheets for. We built out for you with lots of pretty data visualizations and fixed some of that broken iOS 14 data.
No more freaking Google Data Studios that you break every day. Every day.
No mas.
Yeah. And you've got an event coming up. I am humbled and blessed and just, all the things to be able to speak. So yeah, tell us about Creativepalooza. What's the vibe? What is the purpose? Who's it for?
Yeah. So Creativepalooza is a project that I came up with shortly after starting. Can't believe everyone just trusted in me. We're doing this, baby. But really, I used to work in growth marketing, but I was more of a creative strategist. I even did like product photography and videography and all kinds of stuff when I started in ecom. And so I've been to a bunch of conferences, but a lot of them are really focused on media buying, leadership, ops, finance, that kind of stuff. And I was like, there's just not, there are never enough talks for me on web design and creative psychology and messaging and copy. And so I was like, let's freaking build a conference around that. And so Creativepalooza came to be. My vision was to have it be like Lollapalooza Music Fest themed. So we've got some fun surprises coming that way. But it's going to be a 2-day sick mastermind event, all kinds of different topics covering pretty much everything creative that relates to the success of your ecom business. And the day before November 1st, it's in Austin also. And the day before November 1st, we're actually literally just throwing a giant pickleball tournament / party.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a banger of a week.
Yeah, Casey's gonna come for pickleball and drinks, and then he's gonna leave for the event.
Yeah, I mean, technically I'm a creative strategist, but I mean,
but really, he's
You already know
like
everything. So you don't need to come.
Well, I guess pickleball's not really like if it were a cornhole tournament, Casey would be there, he would win it.
I've never played pickleball.
I don't know.
In my
There's
life.
probably some ringers in Austin, Texas. That seems like a place where there's going to be some cornhole players.
Oh, it's a scene.
Yeah,
I think they can hold their own in pickleball, cornhole, all those fun games.
All those things. All right, cool. Well, cool. We are going to talk today about because Triple Whale is across so many brands, and because you have like much data, we're going to talk about it before the show. Like you have a lot of insights across a lot of brands. Some really awesome macro trends that we're going to break down, as well as going to get into some of the strategies, tactics that some of the top brands this year are using. I call it maybe wartime strategies, wartime tactics. When things aren't quite as good as they used to be. First up, though, speaking of pencil, let's get a word from our sponsor. Casey, will you go into a different room, change clothes, and tell us about our sponsor, please? Casey, you are an absolute beast right now. You're churning out so many creatives across multiple brands. What is it that is so hard about producing such a high volume of creatives? Why can't more brands do it?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I would say if you're doing it the right way, of course, you should be always analyzing your past ads, the things you've already churned out, your most recent test group that you've put out. And that should inform your next round of creation, not just go all willy-nilly about it. So I would say that's why it's difficult to speed up that process, is because it's always kind of a two-pronged approach of analyzing and creation, really.
So how is it that you are able to do that across like 12 to 15 accounts?
Yeah, I mean, it does get pretty wild, but honestly, when I use Pencil, it's not as bad. Pencil is a tool that I use. It's got AI that'll help determine what my best ads are. It'll even break it down into the best elements of those ads. And in that platform, it'll automatically generate new ads for me to launch, and I can push them live straight from the platform into Facebook, IG. It also works great for other platforms as well, like TickTock, whatever you're on, really. If you sound like me and you're always in the weeds with your creatives, use our promo code. Go to trypencil.com, use promo code ModCom15. You'll save 15% off on any paid plan. One more time, that's trypencil.com, ModCom15. Save 15% off any paid plan they have there. And back to the show.
Thank you for you didn't even change.
Nah, I just realized how I cycled through like 6 groups.
Yeah. Yep. Oops. Yeah. It's the moment that everyone realizes Casey just has like 5 of the same shirt. That's all he wears.
True.
Same.
Cool. Well, let's get into it. Yeah,
I would say what the brand is, but they haven't paid any sponsor.
Yeah, you know what? Don't do that for them. This is all about Pencil and Creativepalooza today. All right, let's get into it. So let's talk about macro trends, especially ones this year that you're seeing that I don't know. In if you have hey, here's the macro trend that I'm seeing across brands, across e-commerce. Here's what I think about it. I don't know, right? Like if you want to just unpack it, we can discuss it. And anyone who's watching, if you want to hop in the comments and just give your opinion, go ahead. But yeah, Alexa, what do you got?
I got feels.
Yeah.
So for context, the reason why they brought me onto this magical podcast is because Triple L has over 6,000 Shopify brands using the app right now. And I am able to hack into the back end and see the data and crunch the numbers and build the reports. So I'll be doing my best to talk macro and not name drop anyone or anything like that so that we keep it all kosher. But definitely in terms of macro trends, I think the biggest thing, and I can't stress this enough, is just the mass diversification of ad spend. The craziest thing for me has been watching the growth in TikTok ad spend. Looking at 2021 data, we saw, I want to say like 18 mil in TikTok ad spend, and we're already at about 90 mil. It's October 13th. So it's not even the end of the year, not even the end of Q4. So crazy spend on TikTok, and not even last point of conversion spend. It's literally just like people leveraging TikTok as part of their customer journey, which is pretty rad. And we can talk about that.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, that's what I'm interested in. So like, so is it like, I mean, because you guys also obviously have Pixel plugged into a lot of stuff. and you can see the performance of TikTok. Like, tell me the numbers again. So tell me that year over year spend trend again.
Yeah,
Like
it was like 18. I'm rough estimating because I pulled this earlier today, but it was like 18 mil in 2021, and we're at about 90 mil now.
So like a lot. What's that? Almost 5x, close to 5x, 4x,
Yeah.
and some change,
Like 4x,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. So that's, it might exactly be 5x. Sorry, mental math. So yeah, that's interesting. But you're saying it's not necessarily like, is TikTok performing that well in terms of like a conversion platform basis? Because this is what we're seeing is like, yeah, there is more spend getting pushed into TikTok, but it doesn't necessarily like drive conversions, especially not like new to brand customers, first touch point, they see an ad, they convert, which Facebook's always been so good at. We're not seeing TikTok really do that at like mass scale enough to like take dollars from Facebook or to elicit that much more spend. But yeah, so that's what I'm interested in is like, is it because TikTok is performing really well, or is it because the brands that are surviving now are the ones that diversify spend and spend on things that don't return right away, but put, prospects into their funnel?
Yeah, I think the most efficient and like fastest growing brands that we have on board right now, they're converting most of their customers at touch point, somewhere between touch point 2 and 4, usually around 3 and 4.
Right.
And so TikTok is just part of that journey for them. And for many, it's like either TikTok or Facebook was first. The other one comes second, Facebook or Instagram. The other one comes second, and then maybe it's one more ad. Often it's email or SMS, which is one of the kind of trends that I want to talk about as well. We're seeing a lot of those actual conversions come through email and SMS after folks have kind of been hit with a couple ads, but nothing works like Facebook used to, where you like put money in, take money out. Like any brands that I see that have like really high actual conversion rates at first touch point from a Facebook ad, I'm like, literally, what crack are you putting in those ads? Like, that's not normal anymore.
Right.
And so, for me, I have been thinking way more holistically about digital marketing ever since I started at Triple Whale, just kind of looking at this data. And now I don't even really think about ad spend in the same way that I used to. It's my brain kind of operates in like MER now. And we also provide like multiple different attribution models. I am using our linear one, which like splits your basically your ROI across all the channels that were a touch point along the journey. And for most people, TikTok is just a part of that journey that ultimately helps people convert, because people are just taking way longer these days, man. DR advertising, direct response, just doesn't work like it used to.
Well, so I was actually thinking about, I don't know if I was discussing this with somebody or if it was just me talking to myself in the shower. That happens a lot. But I was thinking about this the other day, is that I think that, the reason that if you think about it, like just even not like, oh, what's happened with iOS 14 or like, don't even get too technical about it. Think about when people were just like putting $1 into Facebook ads, getting 3 or 4 or 5 or 2 or whatever, how many dollars out they needed. And they're just scaling that like crazy. A lot of times what they were selling was something that I would categorize like it's in the impulse purchase range, right?
Yeah.
Like it is $50, $60, maybe 40, 30, whatever. And it could work. And Facebook had all of like this basically abundance of really qualified traffic, or this abundance of users, right? Like just tons and tons of users that they had enough data on to know who was qualified and would buy. But like from a macro trend level, as more people have advertised on the platform, on Facebook, Instagram, Meta, whatever we want to call it now, as more people have done that, that's driven the cost of advertising up, especially to those high quality users. And if, I know in like our latest data that I've looked at, like in macro trends, it's like a lot of the best performing brands on Facebook have AOVs in like the $95 to $115 range, which is not, that's not impulse purchase land, right? Like most people aren't just like, yeah, I got, I'll drop $100 on that. Like, even if they have it, it's like, you take a second, you don't just drop $100 on something usually. Even if it, even if it's like, well, why don't we just target people with disposable income? I'm like, I mean, they got that way somehow. And it wasn't by just,
spending it.
spending money. Yeah. So like, yeah, no, I think it makes a lot of sense that it's like what survived. Like to me, I almost wonder if it's not necessarily the marketing environment that's like, oh, here's why, these brands are not converting on first purchase anymore. It's because it's like, well, the brands that have survived are the kinds of brands that they just don't really convert on first purchase. People have to think about it. And so maybe some of it is that Facebook's less good at it. Maybe some of it's that Facebook's more expensive. Some of it's that they've lost data, but some of it's just that like those of us who are still around, we're not selling fidget spinners anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. I was talking to a friend earlier today who called me just about particularly Facebook advertising woes. And they sell a variety of SKUs, but they're all like $400 to $500. It's like a luxury jewelry item. And he was just telling me like how challenging it has become, even more so like in the current global climate where folks are just a little bit more reticent about spending their money, particularly leading up to the holiday season. If they aren't purchasing that product as a gift, like they're very unlikely to buy themselves a $400 nice thing for themselves, impulse buy. And so it just takes way longer. Like that, if you think about it, it's almost like closer to like a SaaS sales cycle where you really have to like sell people for a while and convince them that they either need it or want it so badly that they're willing to spend $400 on it. And it's just kind of changed the game. And the post-COVID, the air quotes recession, if we want to call it that officially, like, I think it's easy to say like, oh, this is what worked before, this is what works now. But there are so many more like global and economic impacts that impact our little corner of e-commerce. And it's easy to like not apply all of that thought to like what's working on the platforms,
Yeah. And it's easy to just get mad at Zuck because he's not giving us our returns anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know. And really, if you think about it, like what is the platform motivated to do? Well, it's not motivated to sell your crappy dropship product. That's for sure. Like that's not keeping people coming back, so if the platform, if we're talking about the platform as if it's a person, if the interest of the platform is like, okay, well, I want to sell stuff, but I want to also want people to come back so I can sell them more stuff. If there's an overabundance of advertisers, who's going to get edged out? Right. It's going to be the people who are really usually selling more impulse purchase products. There's still brands, like you said, that are like getting really good returns on front end or getting really low cost, high conversion rates on front end. Usually they're doing some kind of loss leader strategy or some kind of thing like that, where it's like, oh yeah, I know if I can acquire a customer this way. I mean, this is a brand that I'm involved with. What we do, right? Like we actually lose on our front end acquisition, but there's a membership aspect involved, and we know it's really, really sticky. So it's like, okay, well, if we can buy against a 3-month LTV, like we're really, really good in a good position. And then we just watch our cash flows, we watch our MAR. So that's a lot of the ones that are high converting front end. That's what they're looking at. So if you're like, oh, why aren't my Facebook ads crushing like they used to, or TikTok ads? The only thing that's doing that now is Google, but Google's got limited scale.
Yeah. And I think also like as I know for those watching, we noodled on how to structure this chat for a while, and I think it's just kind of being an amoeba, but I'm cool with it. I'm loving it. We were trying to think about how we can really like roll in all these different macro trends and things that we want to talk about. But as we think about acquisition, one of the things that I wanted to tap into is kind of like pricing strategy. And I think that rolls really well into what we're talking about right now. And so one thing that I'm seeing across a lot of our just top performing crushing brands right now is they have a standard SKU version of a product, and then they offer like a almost perfect, or like something about it is slightly imperfect, not 100% version of that product at like a $20 discount, a $30 discount. And I have no idea what's going on in the back end as they're looking at like their inventory and their planning. And like, I don't know if this is all psychological, if it's real, because I haven't like purchased these items to compare, but it's a very common trend that I'm seeing. And so what's really interesting is like when you are able to present, like I have this one, like both of these products are kind of expensive, right? They're like $100 plus, but I'm going to advertise so that you can see the value. And then I'm going to give you an alternative where something feels like you're getting some sort of like discount off of this really amazing thing. And it's just almost perfect. And you probably won't notice the difference. Like, I think that's a really powerful pricing strategy that we're seeing right now, because as folks are thinking about how and where they want to spend their money, it's like really easy to psychologically justify for yourself. Like, well, if I get the one that's like almost perfect, like you know, it's not that bad, right? And I think that is such a cool thing that I'm starting to see people do regularly now.
Yeah. Without giving anybody up, could you come up with an example of what you mean by that? Like,
Yeah, I'm actually this one. One of these. I'm happy to share because they're happy to share too. But if you aren't familiar with Portland Leather Goods, they are a client of ours. I even told them I was going to shout them out, but they make amazing leather products, bags and shoes and all kinds of accessories. And they have this almost perfect page, which I think is really just like little nicks or little dings because they have a lot of like handmade items. And so they had sent us for a project that we did with Triple Whale, this DTC After Dark thing, which is a whole nother conversation, but they sent us a ton of bags, and some of which, I mean, they really balled out. So shout out Portland Leather, but they sent us some of the items that were listed as almost perfect. And I wouldn't have noticed unless I was checking stuff off on the packing slip, making sure we got all our boxes in. I mean, it looks gorgeous to me, but they offer it at like a slight discount and crushes for them.
yeah. Yeah, no, that's an interesting idea. Like, awesome tactic, really good takeaway. Question. We know this dude. Felix asking, is Triple Whale seeing an overall decline in ad spend on Meta 2020 versus 21 versus 20 versus 22?
Yep, like hands down, yes. Like Q3 was crazy. Q3 of 2021 was crazy. So people were like spending more at lower efficiency because we were all trying to figure out what was going on. And then in 2022, I think people woke up and were like, okay, no mas, like I need to start diversifying spend. So where I'm seeing that spend being pulled from Facebook, there is tremendous investment in Google ads right now. I've never seen people spending as much on Google ads and ecom as I'm seeing right now. It's crazy. Like they're just scaling it as hard as they can. TickTock, people are going back to Pinterest. Like, there was a period of time where I was honestly worried, like what's going to happen with Pinterest because I kind of love it as a consumer. And ad spend was being pulled, and it's slowly scaling back up. So I think this year's Pinterest spend is like slightly more than last year so far. And we're at October, so it'll probably be like marginally more. But I would say, yeah, Google and TikTok are like the biggest investments, and then better email and SMS is a huge investment.
Yeah, they're on Google. So take Google and TikTok on uptrends. I mean, is Facebook still the predominant spend channel? I guess that's my follow-up question.
Yeah. Yes, but
it's the easiest
because it's because one, it's the one that people feel most comfortable with, even when they feel uncomfortable with it, and two, the brands that have been running, this is like my soapbox, the brands that have been running on Facebook for, let's say, like 5 years. If you think about it, let's say 40 people remained opted in to app tracking, like after iOS 14. The data set of lookalike customers, for lack of a better word, if you have, 5 years of data and you've been crushing it for 5 years, that 40% is going to be a lot more than a small to medium sized brand or a younger brand on Facebook. So they're able to experience less volatility. Like they just have better in-platform data to work with. So it's mostly the smaller to medium-sized brands, like under the 10 mil a year, that are heavy on diversification right now.
Yeah, I'd say this. I've seen the same thing. Like those are the ones that I've seen outspending Facebook on Google. Like their Google mix is higher. Yeah. Legacy brands that have scaled Facebook to millions, in a month, like they're still there. It actually still kind of works for them too. Like not as good, but it still works.
Yeah.
Cool. So moving into, and I know that kind of one of the things we asked you to do is, okay, like pull some of the fastest growing and highest profit brands of, right now, 2022, and look across trends here. So we've covered acquisition a little bit, covered pricing a little bit. Let's get into retention. I know you've mentioned email, SMS a couple times here. Like, what is the trend that you're seeing in retention that is different year over year?
Yeah. So contextually, I worked in House of Brands. So I didn't have an understanding besides how that in-house brand was performing plus or minus my efforts, like what the break of what you want, your new customer rev versus your returning customer rev to be. But even in looking at our, like some of our top performing brands right now, it's almost a 50-50 split. So their sales are like half retention, half new acquisition. I've worked at a lot of brands before where it was like 70-30, like it was churn and burn, like let's just be acquiring. But because money is working a little bit differently, these app platforms are working a little bit differently right now. I think retention has been like one of the sexiest topics for a lot of ecom brands in 2022, just figuring out how to make your money go longer, thinking about maxing out that LTV. And so things that I'm seeing people do to make that work. One of the craziest things I'm seeing is just like grassroots community efforts. So even if it's having a Facebook group of your customers, or having a really active like organic TickTock presence and getting people to like post about your product, things like that. Those
Maybe
have been
starting a podcast.
maybe starting a podcast, working on content marketing, like the amount of like
Or
beauty
sponsoring
brands.
a podcast. I'm just kidding.
But yeah, even just like the amount of beauty brands that I'm seeing that are going hard on like content marketing right now. It used to be like we saw lipstick and you can like look at our Instagram page. Now it's like here's all this like detailed YouTube content where we show you how to do your makeup perfectly, all this stuff. There's just so much investment in education and community initiatives to keep folks retained. And then I think one thing that a lot of people have learned quickly this year is customers they're starting to get sick of advertising because it's everywhere. It's inescapable at this point, and we all know what an ad feels like. And so the brands that are like doing that really aggressive, like every day you get an email with a discount or some sort of offer, whatever, that's just not working anymore. Like it's brutal. And it's also annoying as a customer. And so we're seeing a huge lift for brands that are working to optimize email and SMS for personalization. So specific SMS flows on like how to use that lipstick you just bought, or here are products that you might like based on what you bought. Just like smart personalization opportunities and education opportunities. Those are huge for retention right now.
Felix back again, the champ of engagement on this one so far.
Yes,
Facebook
they are,
groups.
Felix.
Yeah. You're still seeing brands use Facebook groups. And then the one I have a question on is like, I feel like, there was a minute there where people were really hot on the idea of like, oh, an app, like, launch an app for your store. But then it kind of got to this thing where it's like, well, it's not really a value add. It's just like your store on an app so that you can send people push notifications. But I think there's like a lot on the table there, especially if you're going to invest into content marketing. So that's another thing I'm wondering if you're seeing is like, are there a refocus into Facebook groups or apps or things like that?
Yeah, it depends on your demo. So like if you're targeting the moms and the dads of the world, Facebook groups work. If you are targeting, I would say like the Gen Zs, the youngins, I see that apps work really well for that content. So I recently downloaded an app. They're not a client of ours, but it's called Shop Thing, and they buy and resell like designer, like Gucci handbags and things like that at a discount that are out of season or from last year's collection. And their whole app is, you can't shop online, but their whole app is like live. It's like almost like Instagram stories of people like trying on the product, showing it, whatever. They're crushing it. And so I think that the app thing, it's providing this like next gen level of content where maybe you can have like an AR visualization of a product in a room if it's furniture, or virtual try-ons for clothing and makeup. Live streaming and live shopping is getting like very popular, very fast. And so I think that's a huge opportunity for an app. I don't think the push notifications, like, I don't know, prove me wrong by all means, but I've never gotten a push notification and thought like, okay, I need to buy that, unless it's like something is literally 50 to 70% off that I have my eye on.
Right. Or if it's like, if you buy on like Nike drops or something like that, then you do. But,
sure.
That's almost to the level where people like know it's coming. You don't need a push notification. They're like, waiting, but if you're somewhere in between there, but yeah, I hear you. I think it's just, maybe it's another reason or another way to get in front of people. So again, looking through macro trends, we're talking about acquisition, retention, pricing. I think that one of the big things that has emerged like this year is maybe in the last year, I talked to very few brands that did any kind of cohort analysis on their customer lifetime values. You know, take it back 13 months and they're like, what is that? Right. And obviously Triple Whale has like really good layouts on cohort analysis and stuff
My
like that.
favorite page in the entire
Right.
app.
Mine as well.
Favorite
Mine
page.
as well. You can break it down by product, like so many things. Right. I think that's what's been interesting is like, you know, I don't know, not to necessarily like call anyone out, but like, let's just say like, man, what do I got on my desk here? I don't know, if I bought this light to podcast, right? Like what's your lifetime value on that? I'm not going to buy more. Like, I don't really need that many more lights. Like, do you have other podcasting? I want to call out like a certain category, and that is essentially like, especially like men's accessories. So like wallets, watches, that kind of stuff that really were, a lot of them were like D2C darlings. But it's like not that easy to increase your customer lifetime value in that space. Cause if you sell people like a really great wallet, like, you know, they don't need anymore as a wallet. Yeah. So, I mean, they might refer people to you, which is like maybe a whole other conversation, but, I am interested in like brands like that or others, because I think a lot of those kinds of brands are like, how do we drop more products, right? Like, how do we, so they're thinking about SKU management and they're thinking about how do we drop more products. Other kinds of brands have tons and tons and tons of SKUs, and they're trying to think about like, what SKUs should we focus on? Should we narrow down? Are we seeing more brands expand into more SKUs during the, you know, quote unquote wartime of e-commerce, or are we seeing more brands like narrow into fewer SKUs, or is there some other SKU management kind of strategy or tactic that you're seeing a lot of?
It's really interesting. There is like a large, I'm just thinking right now, like there's a large bulk of brands that are doing very well with a small SKU set. So like one that comes to mind is Huron, like men's care. They have like a couple different fragrances. Like they have 2 different fragrances, but they make like shampoo, conditioner, body wash, deodorant. And I think that they're like releasing 1 or 2 more things this year, but like they've kept it pretty slim. And then you have brands that are like, some of our biggest brands, this blows my mind, are like screen print t-shirt brands. Like they're literally taking like a Bella and Canvas Comfort Colors t-shirt. They're screen printing a design on it that, you know, they got made somewhere. And they're selling those babies like hotcakes for $35. But those are very quick turnover SKUs, right? So it's like we sell it until people start to lose interest. Hopefully we didn't buy too much, and then we make the next one. I think, you know, a conversation that I have a lot with the team at Triple Whale, and people think that we're like crazy innovative for, is this concept of product market fit. So like there's this sentiment that a lot of people, you know, they have an idea for a product, they want to launch it, and then they go find PMF. Like, okay, now it's time to find PMF because I wanted to build a candle company, but I didn't really like plan for that in advance. The way that Triple Whale rolls out new features and prioritizes our tech pipeline is by making sure that we have statistically significant interest in that thing from our existing customer base before we build it, to make sure that enough people are going to use it to make our time worth it. And ecom brands can apply this principle too. I think this is one that Obvi does an incredible job at. They have a bunch of different SKUs, a bunch of different flavors of their collagen, their gummies, their whatever. And they literally let people like vote and test on flavors, or suggest flavors and let people vote and test on them before they go out and do the research and build it. There's no reason to stop you from doing that. So if you need to do like a flavor, a color diversification, whatever, that's an easy way to make sure you have the PMF before you order inventory. What I am seeing though, is I'm seeing a lot of brands that started as like, we were a women's only brand, and then now they're like non-specific. Or like we did men's care and now we do everyone's care. And so I think it's almost more so like, we need to expand because, you know, aggressively niche targeting XYZ has not been working for us in 2022. And so now we need to look beyond that and kind of expand our web of customers.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's a tough one, right? So I guess my follow-up question there is, from like SKU expansion and these kinds of strategies, have you actually seen like brands actually really be able to significantly lift their LTVs? Because I kind of have this working theory, and that maybe this is just me being like, I don't know, negative or pessimistic or something like that. But I kind of have this working theory that like, if your brand and the kind of customer that you get with your brand is just like not really that conducive to lifetime values, then there's not like a ton you can do to make that happen, right? So like if you sell a consumable, then if it really, really changes people's lives, then it's going to have lifetime value, right? If you sell apparel and people love it, it's going to have good lifetime value. But if you sell wallets, watches, things like that, and it's just like, you know, I don't know. I'm wondering like, should people, I don't know, you should probably just say yes so people can like believe.
So like,
but like, have you actually seen the SKU expansion or any SKU management strategies like really truly make impact on lifetime value, or maybe have they made impact somewhere else?
Yes, I have. But I think one mistake that a lot of brands make is they start pumping out more SKUs before they have brand advocates of their like hero initial SKUs. So like you need to really have enough people that are addicted to your product or addicted to your brand or believe that it's so high quality that they're going to purchase from you again before you start spending money on buying more inventory and like all of the work that comes with that. And so like the smartest brands that I know ran with, you know, 5 to 10 SKUs for years before expanding because they needed to build up that brand awareness and advocacy and relationship with customers to say like, you know, we have a really, really, really good, really strong product. However, I think there will always be industries that are not conducive to this. Like, how often do you really buy new furniture for your house if you're above the age of 30, 35? Like, very infrequently. Think about anything for like the wedding industry. That's going to be like a one-time thing for you, right? So there are always going to be industries where it doesn't make sense. I think if you are in consumables, if you are in actual apparel, like wearable apparel, or if you're in something that like is an accessory that you can have thousands of, like jewelry or bags, like that's where SKU variation makes sense. But otherwise, I don't know, go hard and fast on what you have, like until you really feel like you've tapped out somehow.
So what do you say? Like, so I think that essentially what happens when we are talking about SKU expansion with a brand is usually it just isn't working on the acquisition side. And we're pretty far past the point of diminishing returns in terms of like, let's test more creative, right? And Chase, if he's still watching, if Pencil's still watching, then they're going to be like, we'll get Pencil. There you go, a little extra plug. Get Pencil. You can test even more creative. You can find something that works. And that's like, you know, maybe, but it's not necessarily that it's like not working. Like, oh, we're losing money. It's more like, it's just not like, we're not really making any profit and we don't really have LTV. So like, let's get into SKU expansion so that we can create some kind of retention revenue. But yeah, like, you know, but they're not in that, like, you know, Ridge Wallet point. Like I'm calling out Ridge Wallet because they just launched a watch, right? It's going to work for them, right? They're big. They've got a lot of customers, a lot of like big advocates, like you're saying, right? Like that's going to work. That's going to be a good revenue driver for them. But if you're 1/10 of the size and, you know, only 1 year old or 2 years old or 2.5 years old or something like that, what are you seeing those brands do where it's like, we're kind of stuck in this in-between zone where we can't really make our current SKUs work very well. And is it just slog along or what?
I will
Maybe
say,
you weren't ready for that. Yeah.
No. I will give you a experiential data point, which is that I've worked for multiple companies that have been in that position and they thought that the answer was SKU expansion and it was not.
Right.
It just,
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's
so
just, yeah.
I super agree. Cause then you're like spread thin. You got all these products, you know what the hell you're doing. Yeah. So I'm with you. But there are just too many friggin' people in this world for you to tell me that you ran out. Like, really? Like, you really think that you tapped every single person that you could possibly tap to sell your existing SKUs in what, the 1, 2, 3 years that you've been on market, that you're really completely out of options and you have to expand SKUs? I don't know. I'm not sold. But again, it varies so much based on what your product is. Cause like if you literally are only selling leather wallets, once everybody has their own and they bought their dad one, like you might have to go into SKU expansion because like that only goes so far.
Well, yeah. And let me, can I push back a little bit here? Because yes, you're right. No, and this is because I hear this same argument from brand owners of like, I have not tapped my market. You know what I mean? Like wallets is a however many $1 billion industry. I'm not even going to guess at it, right? It's a lot. Watches is however many $1 billion industry. It's a lot. like I've only sold this much. Like I'm not even a fraction of tapping my market. And I'm like, that's fair. But we're not talking about the entire market of people who buys wallets or watches. We're talking about the market of people who will buy a wallet or watch online at the efficiency that you need in order to make your unit economics work, right? And there is a lot of people out there advertising that don't need your unit economics efficiencies, or that are more legacy and are selling way more of these, so already we're fractioning the market by saying online, and we're fractioning it again by saying that will work with your unit economics, right? And so but yes, you're right. Like, maybe instead of, if you're a brand like that and you're just not conducive to LTV, maybe the move isn't necessarily SKU expansion. Maybe it's distribution expansion, or maybe it is like, let's get investing in like organic content, launching our own podcast, launching our own YouTube channel, sponsoring podcasts, that kind of thing.
Broke? Are we okay?
What? Yeah, no, give us money, please.
Help me, I pause.
No,
but you know what I will say, John, is you might have just made an argument for like retail.
Right. Like, well, I do that a lot, actually. I do that a lot.
Because like really, I agree with you. And to be fair, I didn't speak well. Like I agree. Like there are only going to be so many people in the world that you're going to be able to reach. They're going to buy your product, your price, whatever, that buy online. But if you are in that level of a rock and a hard place position, then it's like, okay, then who isn't this? The people who don't buy online. Okay, let's try that. You know? So it's like, you got to make the moves based on your market.
Yeah, or the people who aren't going to buy from an ad, right?
Yeah.
Like the people who are like, if they will buy online, they vote like Casey. Casey won't buy stuff from an ad. He just went off screen, so he can't even but he's not going to buy nothing from an ad. Like he will buy something that like, and I am kind of tongue in cheek saying sponsor podcast, but he's a podcast listener. If a brand sponsors one of his podcasts, and he gets a read from one of the hosts that he's like, oh, they actually seem like they use that. Like he'll be able to tell and he'll buy that. Right. Like that's just, it's a like direct line for him. Right. And there's all kinds of people like that. Like my wife, she doesn't really buy stuff. She is like the classic, like she gets tons of e-commerce ads, but usually she buys stuff that like she's got, 5 or 6 IG people or YouTubers that she like really, really follows. And anytime they launch merch, anytime, like she buys that. Right. Like, so that, I mean, getting into, becoming a media company or getting into distribution's probably easier of the two.
Yeah. You mentioned it already, Alexa, how a lot more brands, apparel brands, whatever brands, are trying to dive deeper into content marketing, things like that, things that are a little bit more engaging to consumers. I mean, shamelessly speaking, not that long ago, John and I would say kind of typically for apparel brands, there's not that much you can do. Kind of just put the stuff in front of them, and if they like it, they'll click on it and they might buy it. And, if not, put something else in front of them. If they like it, they might buy it. I'm seeing a shift in clients we work with, apparel brands, where we go, oh, they all of a sudden they're going deeper into content. They are doing the TickTok angle a little bit more. They might want to start a podcast, things like that. I think we're seeing that pretty universally. At least there's a desire to want to do that as those brands, because I think they just realize they might be missing out on that community building essence that they could have.
Yeah. And one of the things that you guys asked me, like what I've kind of been doing on like the speaking and pod circuit this year, but one of the things that I've been doing a lot of like contributed content and webinars on is marketing to Gen Z. And there has been so much consumer psychology research to support that. First of all, Gen Z right now has like a combined spending potential of like 360 billion or something globally. Like it's pretty significant, even though they're still young. But there's a lot of research. Pardon?
They're not that young anymore. Are you Gen Z?
No, I'm not.
Like
but it goes from 25 to 12 or something.
25 is not that young. 25 is like you're out of college and you have a job for a few years now.
Well, we're right. But I'm saying if you're like, I agree. But the research that has been done on the entire cohort, the entire generation. So let's say 13 and up maybe are the people who are, because 13, you're probably asking your parents, like, can I have $25 to buy this or whatever? Right. Shows that this whole generation is really, really, really obsessed with like connection to brand stories, connection to quality of product, like mission, things, not so much like sustainability, like I'm going to convert because it's sustainable, but like I want to feel good purchasing from this brand. They're very interested in purchasing from small businesses or like smaller ecom brands as opposed to like big box brands. So like, you know, a Huron deodorant versus an Old Spice. And so like the untapped resource there is finding ways to connect with them. If it's TikTok organic, if it's making YouTube content, whatever, catering to that kind of like next generation of how they want to approach and encounter brands and learn about products. Because we just don't have the research to support that, with the exception of like the 23 to 25-year-olds. Like the old school style of paid social advertising is working with them. Like they are going way deeper in with brands before converting, which is really interesting. Like they're research driven.
So we've got another comment here from good old Felix. He's saying, speaking of creative, are brands testing more assets now that things aren't as easy to sell through paid ads? We've done a pretty deep dive recently into kind of creative testing. We have the ultimate guide to creative testing. Go back and watch that episode. You know, but also, Alexa, I'm curious to see if you have any perspective on this that you'd like to share.
Yeah.
Turnover on TikTok creative testing is fast. Not so much on Facebook like it used to be. And one of the trends that I was going to call to mind is I scoped through 10, 15 of our top performing, fastest growing brands. If you look at their campaign structures and look at their ad creative, it's almost entirely static product photography. It's like beautiful high-res statics with some text overlays. And so sometimes they're doing a little bit of optimization on like which of the 3 statics that are, you know, are going to be top performing, or which of the 3 copy overlays, like the power quotes, are going to perform best. But Facebook has definitely, people have simplified their creative testing, I think, because costs are much higher there now. And then TikTok is like crazy creative testing land, like bonkers, because costs are lower.
Absolutely. That's the misconception that we deal with all the time on the agency side, is that, you know, brands think that they need to be testing more and that'll make them more efficient, which in a certain view it's true, but not initially. Not like, hey, these new creatives we're rolling out are guaranteed to be the new best thing in the ad accounts, which I was surprised that a lot of brands, they think that way, you know, and it's like, hey, you have these proven winners. When things get tough, you kind of need to lean more into the proven winners, maybe dial down testing a little bit. But you're absolutely right. Everything we've seen on TikTok supports what you're saying. Just crazy turnover on ads. You know, trends live and die in a matter of weeks or days even. So things are just kind of popping 1 second and then no more popping. You know, where'd the pop go?
Yeah, where'd the pop go?
Where to pop? No more pop.
Where is it? It's gone.
Actually, I think you have some insight into this too. One of the other questions we get asked a lot from clients is like, hey, what should we be doing with TikTok? Like, is TikTok viable for us? Essentially, is what they're asking. And yeah, I mean, would you say, like, relative to, let's say, Facebook, what do you think that looks like? Is maybe like a percentage or just a gut feeling, however answer you can give to us here. Is how viable is TikTok for your average e-commerce brand, I guess?
Right. Is there like a, hey, if this is you, it's not viable? Like, in your opinion, I have my own, right? But like, if this is you, it's not viable. If this is you, here's how you utilize it. Like that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing for me is like demo. So if your people are majority 35, 30 and older, probably not a huge investment for you right now. Just like when we look at platform usage and who's on it, I think it's like the stat that I pulled the other day from like Business Insider or something was like the average TikTok user is spending like 5 hours looking at content a day, but they are teens to like 20, early 20s, 23-ish maybe. So like that is a prime opportunity if you're in that demo for TikTok. If you're not, stick with where those people live, which could be Facebook, it could be display, following them around. Like you got to know based on your vertical. The other thing for me that's really critical is if your product is not visually interesting in any possible way, i.e. it is not a consumable that someone can eat and appear delighted, or it's not, I call it goopy, but like if your beauty or skincare isn't goopy enough to create some sort of like interesting visual, things like that, like it's just not going to perform on TikTok, because TikTok is this like very sensory oriented platform.
Yeah.
It's got to be demonstrable, really. And those
Yeah.
are, just to reiterate what we've said on past episodes, the two things that I've always said to brands is exactly what you said before. You know, you need a capacity to create a lot of creatives so that you're not just running out of creatives on the fly while you're on TikTok. And also it's kind of the same as how much should you be testing even on Facebook? It's just the opportunity cost of, you know, if we focus on TikTok, are we sacrificing efficiency on a different platform? So I would recommend to brands to always look at it through that lens. Don't starve your stallions to feed your colts or whatever that
feed your ponies. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and that's kind of how I think it's like, if my reco on TikTok is always just like, okay, well, here's the best way to operate TikTok, in my opinion, as a business owner, media buyer, whatever. Have a test budget, a daily test budget. Here's how much we spend per day to just see if we can find something that hits, and basically just always spend that. And then if something hits, scale it as fast as you can. And it's, you know, and then when it dies, which it will quickly, then you're back down and you're back at your test budget. If that sounds like a cycle that like doesn't seem worth it to you, then TikTok probably isn't for you, because that's just the best way to manage TikTok from a brand perspective. Now the test budget could be whatever, right? Like you could say, hey, you know, there are ancillary benefits of TikTok, like new people to site that I can retarget, new people on the email list, that kind of stuff. So our test budget's going to be pretty high so that we can just keep plenty of traffic flowing from TikTok. That's fine, right? Then it might be more worth it, right? You can move more creative tests through more quickly. But if it's like, oh man, that's a lot of resource just to like maybe scale once every couple months or something, then yeah, not even mentioning Snapchat anymore. Yeah, I was actually going to ask about Snapchat because you literally mentioned every other traffic platform. So background, Casey and myself and Felix, the agency that we had before it was acquired was like, I think we're kind of like known for Snapchat. Like we ran Snap for like Snow and Lady Boss and like some of these really big brands. And like we scaled Snow to like 30 to 50K a day for like months. And Lady Boss, we scaled up a lot too. Like it was a pretty good platform for a minute. And then I feel like it just did not survive iOS. Like what are you seeing in terms of spend mix?
Yeah, I wish I pulled the data for you. I thought about doing it, but then I didn't want to roast Snapchat. Bleak. Like half of Pinterest spend, and that's saying something. I mean, I probably could pull it. Like I could pull up my GDS, but it's really bleak. God bless him. I wish him the best. I'm gonna say something that sounds problematic, but I don't mean it this way. I have found a correlation between brands that influence with rappers and brands that perform well on Snapchat. I don't know what it means. I don't know if there's actually like causation. I don't know if it's a demographic overlap, because in my brain, Snapchat is mostly like teeny boppers who are using it to send secret messages that their parents can't read. Like that's my perception of Snapchat right now. Like,
is that really?
I don't know.
That's interesting, because I always thought it was like, you know, I'm here 32 years old. I always figured it was like I missed the window by a little bit. It seemed like it was really popular kind of a few years before, like with the crowd a little bit older than me, when they were like teens basically, and they've kind of adopted it, and it's kind of grown with them, kind of like Mr. Feeney did in Boy Meets World, how he was their teacher every year. Like I think that's kind of my Snapchat.
It was like, is he doing okay? Are you guys getting held back? Like, what's going on? No, that's amazing.
Felix is still on it, by the way.
Felix is a power user. He's a Snapchat power user.
Felix, we love you. No, I think my awareness of the usage right now is basically when Instagram stories came out, it killed Snapchat. That's like the TLDR on that one. Because it was, and now like Be Real, which is really interesting. Be Real is trying to kill Instagram. Did I say Instagram Reels? I mean Instagram stories, but Be Real is trying to kill Instagram stories. That's a whole separate conversation. That's a whole nother soapbox I'd love to get on. But they just didn't have like unique enough features. And so now their usage is really heavily based in like their messaging features, because they disappear, which is sketchy. So
Yeah.
Definitely.
I mean,
So you mentioned us trying to organize the show before we hopped on here together, and we've hit on some topics, and then we had a little chunk of things you wanted to discuss that we couldn't exactly figure out where to place it. So we kind of just called it things you might not be considering, or you might not have considered already. I don't think you even clued us into what it was going to be. So I'm very interested here into what you have to say.
We're just ready.
Okay. One, if anyone is live watching this or watches it later, please leave a comment if you are actively using direct mail and tell me how it's going for you. The reason why I want to know, because people have told me with their words that it's doing incredibly well for their brands, but direct mail doesn't populate into Triple Whale, so I can't fact check their data.
Right.
But there is a massive resurgence in direct mail right now. And in fact, shout out to Kuru Footwear, Kuru Shoes, an amazing shoe company. Sean, we love you.
Yeah.
They sent out a catalog this year. They are a D2C ecom brand that sent me a glossy catalog, and I damn sure purchased some shoes after looking at that, because there was something nostalgic and amazing about getting a catalog for the first time in like 7 years, 5 years. So I'm bullish on this.
And it's like, okay, so I think there's, I'm gonna go into speculation city here. We're in an age group, so millennials are now a pretty big buying demographic. And they, in their adult life, in their places that they live currently, have not received catalogs, right?
Yep.
Like that we haven't. But they did when they were kids. Like I remember I used to, what was the skate? Like there was like a skateboard one. I used to CSI, I think. I used to shop in that. Like I'd circle the stuff I want. Never got it. My mom never got me it.
Oh, I circled it too with like a marker.
Yeah, I would circle like, Mom, this right here, you know, and then she wouldn't buy it. And I'd be like, what are you even doing? What are you even doing in there? I don't even know what you're doing in there. But yeah, so no, it is. It's an interesting play to like, catalogs, direct mail. So I have a lot of experience with direct mail. A lot is a weird way to put it. I haven't necessarily done it for direct to consumer, but I've done a lot of direct mail in, I guess, a past life, and kind of my first agency experience. And it like here's my like take on it. Like things like a catalog or like an enveloped piece work really well.
Yes,
and like, cause it's like, oh, what is this? Like I'm going to open it and, look at it and stuff like that. What's called a flat mailer probably works okay with customers. So if you're sending to a customer list, like maybe a flat mailer you can get away with. But if you're sending to prospects, if you're buying a mailing list of like past buyers of other fitness brands or things like that, and that you think is going to be it. So that's the other thing, is like a good mailing list, right? Like the targeting matters again, which is kind of fun as a marketer to like actually like have another lever to optimize with. Like buying a good mailing list and then hitting, like an enveloped piece. It's more expensive to send an enveloped piece, or sending a catalog or package or something like that. The other thing that I think works really well from a mail standpoint is if there's like key partnerships you think would be helpful for you. Like if you're like, oh, I want to do a brand collab with this brand, target 50 to 100 brands and send them like certified mail telling them that you want to partner with them, and then like send them a package afterward of your product, like stuff that they like can't deny, like they had to sign for it. I think there's a way you can send it like registered, certified, where it's like literally that person has to sign for it. Like someone else at the office, like they can't sign for it. It's got to be that person. So it's like they'll get your message. You know what I mean? If somebody's like, no, you got to sign for it, and it's got to be you, they're like, okay, what does this say? Probably not going to work if you send it to like 100,000 people, or it's going to be really expensive. But that's another one, like key partnerships, or people who's like, if I want to get into retail, or if I want distribution somehow, targeting people who can help distribute.
I can't let you bring up somebody who's been on our show without directing people who might be watching to that episode. Sean from Kuru he's a goat. Go watch that episode in our How to Build a Brand series, guys. I think he might have been our first How to Build a Brand guest, John. Actually,
love him.
And you mentioned like Triple Whale. One of the main reasons people are in love with it right now is because it has kind of unscrambled your mind from all the iOS, nightmare that everybody was dealing with. Kind of helps you adopt that MER mindset. Kuru Footwear was one of the first examples that we talked to on this show where they were largely unaffected because they already kind of had adopted that mindset. Yeah. So lots of valuable little nuggets in that episode for anybody who wants to go check that out.
Cool.
Dude.
What other thing? Sorry, go ahead, Alexa.
I was gonna say Sean's brain is so friggin' big. Like if you ever get the chance to hang out with him, chat with him, whatever, his head is normal size, but his brain is enormous in there.
Yeah, he's just using more of it. You know,
Yeah.
he's using
just
more
less
of it.
like padding from brain to skull. Like, you
Yeah,
just
maybe
can't have
it's just
Like, when he
not as
tells
much
me,
fluid.
like,
Yeah.
When he tells me I said something smart every once in a while, which like periodically comes out of my brain somehow, I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my God, thank you.
It's like if you say enough stuff, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like some of it's going to be
Yeah.
smart.
If you want to hear Alexa say more smart stuff, go to Creativepalooza, November 2nd and 3rd, Austin,
Are
Texas.
you going to speak? Like, are you going to be one of the speakers?
No, but I think I'm going to help moderate some like multi-speaker talks because I want to.
So there's a event series that I have spoken at multiple times that like I would say that quality stepped up big time when instead of having like some of the sponsored speakers like speak, they had them like host panels or like, and then it was moderated. Like, yeah, those are great. I would highly recommend you do that. That was something we could have said off camera, but anyway, we're an hour in. So if you're watching that, like, good on you.
We're in deep. We're in
yeah.
deep.
What are some other e-commerce trends that you can
may not have
verify?
considered?
Yeah, you may not have considered.
Are we just gonna keep going? Like I thought,
If
is this
you-
like an hour long? When
No,
we-
yeah, we'll be out. We'll be out soon. I'm just wondering if you got anything
have
else you
more.
want to bring up. Yeah.
We're getting everything we can out of you today.
Yeah.
Okay. Particularly if you have a younger audience. I've said it before, I'll say it again, and you have a lot of SKUs, particularly if you have inventory that you can't get rid of, that you want to make close to break even, if not money on, honestly. Do a mystery box situation, do a like mystery offer. This is a hill that I will die on. I have so many friends who leverage this, and it gets them, and not only does it get them out of holes, but it makes customers really excited, particularly if you do it as like a drop or a seasonal option. The like mystery bundling kind of thing. Oh God, people love it. And it's that same concept that made like FabFitFun boxes work, where you like pay a flat rate and you just get a bunch of shit in a box. Like there's even like a whole industry now of websites where you could go and buy like a box of random Amazon returns. And like half the time it's like stuff for a hamster that you don't even have.
Yeah, I don't even have a hamster, but it was a great deal. It's a really good deal. Let me tell you something. I'm gonna get my old man on here. Casey was advocating for the mystery box or mystery gift or free mystery gift with order type of offer back when you were singing Sam Smith with your acapella group.
I thought we weren't going to talk about that.
Well, everybody go look it up. Alexa
Do not.
sang acapella in college, and she's really good.
We can't edit out on live streams.
Absolutely. That's why I've said it.
Oh, God.
That's so yeah, absolutely. The mystery box, mystery gifts, and it does a thing where, yeah, it helps you manage your inventory, right? So it's like, I'm not saying put all your crap stuff that nobody wants in there. I'm hopefully you just have a brand that doesn't have those things, but I'm not saying put all your undersellers in there. But you can put some of your undersellers in there, right? Like you can put some stuff that you're heavy on inventory on, and then some stuff that will delight people. And they're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I got that in there. Like that's like a really good product. And you can balance it out. Gives you so much control.
Yeah. I would say for apparel, like if you don't sell enough of 2XLs or something, like it's a good opportunity. But to John's point, like don't put a bunch of junk stuff in there that nobody liked, because that will crush your retention. So if those are your customers that are leveraging the offer, you're going to get rocked. And one of the other things that I was going to bring up either earlier in this section on retention is a lot of consumer research right now showing that because of the 2-day shipping times of Amazon, and basically how like Amazon and these food delivery apps will basically just give you like 100% refund if you are even the slightest bit unhappy. The consumer expectation for customer service support is like basically you should be responding before they even thought to email you yet. You know what I mean? And so like one of the best ways that you can actually have really strong retention and brand advocacy is to have lightning speed SLAs on the like response times for your CX tickets, extraordinary customer support, like above and beyond customer support if you can finagle it. That is like a huge lever to maximizing LTV.
Gotta love that LTV, right? I was going to say too, I mean, if you are one of those people who just throws your shit in a box, I mean, if people are unhappy with one bad product, if you send them 6 bad products,
they're going to be the more
going to piss them off 6x.
Not going well.
That's like multiplier you don't want.
You know what's not going to feel great is if like you get a customer support ticket and they're just like, I want to send back this mystery box just because it sucks and I don't like it. Like
final sale, baby.
No broken products. It just is stupid and it wasn't worth the money. Like that is not what you want. Cool. So yes, speaking of final say, as is tradition on Modern Commerce, we will set you up, Alexa, for the parting shot. TLDR, and remember the title of the episode is, what is it? It's like marketing strategies and tactics of the fastest growing and highest profit brands right now. TLDR, give us the, if you don't watch anything else, if you don't learn anything else from this, learn this.
Okay. 1, diversify your ad spend. Don't sleep on Google. At least give TikTok a shot if it makes sense. Damn, what else did we talk about?
So much.
Clearly,
by the way, anybody who didn't see the whole episode, go back to the beginning and just rewatch this thing because it's been basically a bazooka of knowledge right into your face the whole time. So.
Yeah.
This was an impossible TLDR. You did not.
You want me to take a shot at it?
Yeah, go for it, John. Please.
I mean, I've done more of them.
Throw me a bone.
Yeah. TLDR here is go to Creativepalooza and learn a bunch of stuff from Alexa and all the other people speaking there. Austin, Texas, November 2nd and 3rd. But the non-plug TLDR is get Pencil because it's like really awesome and you should totally get it for creative testing. But the non-plug TLDR is probably like I think that a lot of this is really circumstantial, right? We talked about brands that are in this scenario or whatever. The biggest thing I think is like you got to know your levers because we talked about, okay, you know, when is it right that you should be looking at diversifying into distribution and getting into retail and stuff like that? When is it right that you should be looking at like building your own media company to get your product out into more people's hands? When is it the right thing that you really should just be diversifying your traffic channels? So you got to know yourself and know what is going to be the lever for you. And if you don't, then yeah, I mean, go back and listen to the episode again, but also, you know, find someone who's done this stuff before, find them on Mentor Pass or something like that. And just see if they will talk to you about it because there are a lot of people who can help uncover that white space for you. And then the other thing that I would say that we hit on is there's a lot of like customization and little tactics you can do, right? So some of my favorite little tactics you brought up is customizing your email and SMS flows based on the product that they bought. Offering some kind of like lower price version of your product that's like a imperfect, right? So if you sell a wallet, right? Like, hey, here's an imperfect one for much less. Doing mystery boxes, doing mystery gifts, that kind of stuff to like really do something a little bit different than every other e-commerce brand that people are seeing or doing, because that's who you're advertising to now is people who buy from e-commerce brands. So if you've got a mystery gift in order and some other brands got 10% off their first order when you opt into their email and SMS list, like every single brand has, you look a little bit, you at least get more headspace. Like you break up the noise a little bit. So yeah, I mean, that would be my TLDR. It was really long TLDR, but it was a long episode. So that's my best shot.
Thank you.
The too long didn't read was almost too long. Like
it was too long. I should have a summary for the, should I TLDR the TLDR? Okay. Put me back on. No, I'm just kidding. Casey, you go, let's put Casey on. You can take a shot at it if you want, but what you really need to do is just say all the YouTube things so we can leave.
Yeah, I think I'm going to be all right without taking my own shot at it. I will say this about this episode. I didn't know it would be possible that maybe our most fun episode today might also be our most informative episode to date. Alexa, thank you for joining us today. You were a wonderful guest. John, thank you for leading this interview. You've been killing it, man, with all these guests you've been bringing on. Modern Commerce, if you are this far into the video, hopefully you liked it. So please go ahead and drop a like onto the video down below. Hit the subscribe button so that you are subscribed to our channel. That'll allow YouTube to know who likes our stuff so that they can pitch it to people who are most like you. And also smash the bell icon so that you get notifications about whenever we drop new content onto this channel, because you aren't going to want to miss a thing. I don't want to miss a thing. All right. And until next time, we will see you.
Hey, ModCom, this episode was brought to you by Pencil. I'm a creative strategist at the agency that John and I work at. If you happen to be a creative strategist or you're just having a hard time rolling out enough new creatives for testing, then I have the perfect solution for you. It's trypencil.com. Over at Pencil, the AI will help you determine what your best performers are. It'll even break it down into what elements of those best performers are helping making those ads go. And it'll also take those elements and create whole new ads for you to push live straight from their platform right over to Facebook and IG. So go to trypencil.com if you want to use this and use the promo code ModCom15 to save 15% off of any paid plan they have over there. You can always start with a free plan. Go ahead. Actually, I recommend it even, but we're confident you're going to want to upgrade as soon as you try it out. So just remember to go to trypencil.com, use the promo code ModCom15 to save 15% off of any plan. And thank you for tuning in to Modern Commerce.